After understanding how your company can start understanding BIM more, creating objectives, assessing their workflows, and educating themselves to choose a BIM project and execute it, and choose the right tools in their execution plan. In this section, I will discuss our involvement with one of our clients and how we were able to help them in this transition. And this particular case will cover an engineering firm. So first of all, let's start by introducing our client. Our client for today is a mid-sized engineering firm with several offices throughout the East Coast. They work on projects that range from interiors to healthcare to retail, mission critical, education, and hospitality. The company was given one of its first BIM projects in 2015 and was having challenges with creating a streamlined process to execute the project. Since they have several offices and each one of their offices had their own workflows and their own set of standards and templates. They were also met with challenges when building owners of certain projects were requesting accurate model walkthroughs. So let's keep that in mind. How were we able to help our client? And this example can be applicable to many other clients, but I'm just going to cover this particular MEP firm. The first step in this process is to meet with them, meet with the senior management and go over their goals and main objectives. Then we meet with the project design team to discuss the BIM process and what are their project deliverables. One thing to remember is that we always have the end goal in mind. And in this particular case, our client needed to present walkthroughs at the end of the project to building owners. So we already have a target. Afterwards, the next step is to assess the company's workflows and processes. We get to know them better, see what they've done throughout the years, review their existing functions that they have in the office, evaluate the types of projects that they deliver, the information needed in those projects, what software they're using for their design, and as well as their calculations. After doing that, we get a better understanding of roles and responsibilities of team members. So this allows us to know how we can help them better. We also create a strategy to start training that team on the skills that we know that will be useful for them and will help them reach their goals. In this particular case, the project team needed training in Revit. So we started training their staff by setting up lunch and learns a few times per week. What I want you to remember is that we're on site during this phase. So when you're on site with the client, you really follow their schedule. So if you're busy and you can't afford to spend days and days in training, there are always other ways. And in this case, we were setting up 3 times a week lunch and learns for the design team members and sometimes the whole office, just to give them to let them know more about BIM, so that if they're in a meeting and they want to talk more about it and be confident, they can sound they are more knowledgeable, and then they can also market their services. One more element is the BIM coordinator. So if your firm has a BIM coordinator or a BIM manager, we also train them to make sure that we're transferring that knowledge to someone there who's responsible. During our time on site with our client, we were able to help them set up their projects and create different BIM models. We also were able to work on content development. I understand that you have different selections, different families, what we call families in Revit, for each project sometimes. And sometimes we have content that can be used on several projects. So the target here is to start developing content, to start even for something small and then keep on editing it and adding details to reach a good library that can be used on several projects. After working with our client on several projects, we were able to create Revit templates that are implemented in all their offices. We will also able to create procedures and workflows and standards that were implemented company-wide. Because if you're like our client and you have several offices, you probably have different teams that are working on Revit or any other BIM tool in each office, and you might have your own procedures in each office. So what we try to do is we try to make this streamline this process and make it more efficient. In summary, to help our client in their BIM transition, we reviewed their workflows and we created and implemented company-wide BIM standards. We also delivered a new BIM Revit template, and then we were able to help them in their content development, which included smart schedules, one of my favorite things in Revit. Most importantly, we were able to train their staff and make sure that this project is being executed systematically to reach our end goal, which is to deliver a walkthrough to the building owners. Now, before I cover results, what I want to do is I want to go to Revit for a little bit and talk more about how do we set up projects and what is important to us when we're talking about a Revit template. So if you're a new company and you're trying to set up a project, you probably don't have a lot of content already developed, and you probably don't have a template either. But content is very important when it comes to BIM. It allows you to be consistent and also allows you to make the next project even better, and the next one, and the next one, which means that you'll win more work and you'll be more and more competitive. So right here for our webinar today, I have a project open. This is actually the starting view. As you can see, this is our project browser. In a view called open and close. So this is our starting view. Simply because we're here, let me just give you a perspective. A starting view can really include anything that you want. You probably have your own format. You probably have a company's firm, the firm's name. You have the architect's name. You have the structural team involved, the MEP team involved, maybe even the Revit version or the subdiscipline. So this can really be, I really can't say much about this project because it's one that we developed for a client, but in order for you to add more information or to change this view, if you don't want it to be open and closed, you can always go to the Manage tab and under Starting View, change it. Okay, so when we set up a project or when we set up a new Revit template, we first think about organization and visibility. Everything has to be organized in a specific manner. And for us to be consistent as a team, for you and I to be working on the same project and know exactly where to go. So in this particular case, your project browser would host all your elements, your views, your schedules, your sheets, your content, your links, everything is here. To reorganize it, like in my case, right here, you can see that I have several disciplines. So in this particular project, my approach was, since this project is small, why not include all those disciplines in one file? So you can see that we have HVAC, we have plumbing, fire protection, electrical, all in one file. And this particular organization can be seen by going to the project browser organization, and we can tell that it was organized by subdiscipline. Now, some of you might ask, why do I have 3D views and open and close and spaces here? It's just a way of organizing this. It's not the best way, but you can see like spaces were created in those particular views. These are the 3D views that were exported, or that were the isometric views that we had for different disciplines and levels. So this is just like a way of organizing it. It doesn't have to be the best way, but that's what we currently have in here. When we also talk about organization, we should think about the views themselves, so where you're modeling. If you have a small project, you might be working in a certain view and putting a completely different view on the sheet. For example, right here, this basement power plotting plan is the one that will end up on the sheet, whereas the basement power plan without plotting in it is the one that you'll be working in. So here we can see that we have a specific naming convention, and that's another thing that we look at when we're setting up projects or creating Revit templates. In this case, we have the level ID and then some description of the view itself, and then if it's plotting or if it's plan or RCP. Now, to look at this a little deeper, imagine if you had 50 floors and you want to set up visibility settings for all those 50 floors. You're not going to do them one by one. So that's where we talk about view templates. In this particular view, since it's a plotting view, you have 3 people working on this project in electrical, and 2 of them are on vacation, and the third one barely knows how to use Revit. He should be able to open Revit and print this sheet. That's why for the plotting views, it's good to have a locked view template that doesn't allow users to modify, you can, of course, unlock it, but that has specific settings that should be typically displayed on a sheet for power. So if we go to the Properties palette, you can tell here under View Template, there's an electrical power plotting plan view template that was applied for this particular view. And here you can tell that everything was checked except for view range. And this is really a user preference and a BIM department preference. Like, you can do this in several ways. Some people have view range as a separate view template for to apply it to a bunch of views. Some of them included within the view template itself. So this is, we can talk about this for a whole day. But the importance of creating view templates is now we have 6 views in this particular project that have this view template applied to them. That means that if we were to try to change the visibility settings of this particular view, everything is grayed out. The things that should be on are on, the things that shouldn't are definitely off. Why is this good? Because now, if I need to print this and I don't want to have to worry about, oh, did I turn something off by accident? Did I turn something on by accident? No. Whereas in your working view, that same basement here, you can go, turn things off and on, do whatever you want, do your design here, and then finish by detailing and adding tags in your plotting plan. So we talked more about organization. We talked a little bit about visibility settings. What other elements are important for your a Revit template setup or project setup? One thing that's really important for plumbing and HVAC is your pipe types. So I know this might be somehow of an annoying topic for some of you, like, oh, pipe types, different routing preferences, different materials. But why is it important? Because we just said that BIM helps us in reducing cost and in having a more accurate design, meaning less clashes, meaning when they reach construction, they don't have to worry about your fitting not being valid, make a generic one. So in this case, as you can see, those are sanitary pipes. And for this particular pipe, I can see that it's following what we call a pipe type right here. And this pipe type is the P sanitary hub and spigot. Each one of those pipe types that are listed here have different routing preferences. That's something that we should definitely look at when we're creating our templates and setting up our projects, because we want to look at our company spec and we want to see for this particular system which junctions to use, which elbow to use, which pipe segment material to use for what sizes, what if we're including a cap or not. So these pipe types, they don't have to be there for your very first project, but this is something to keep in mind, is that the more you work in Revit, the more you're implementing BIM, the more accurate you want to be, the more reliable your model should be. Same thing for piping systems. So this pipe can belong to a particular piping system that can be called plumbing. When we also talk about setting up projects, we talk about schedules. Now, a lot of you might be using Revit, but use it only as a documentation tool, which is very disappointing. I see this with a lot of clients, and I'm hoping that those of you who are attending this webinar today will implement Revit to its fullest. Sometimes we decide to tag things by putting a text on top of the pipe or the duct. So when we change that duct size or that pipe size, we lose that tag altogether because it became a 6-inch pipe, but the tag says 5 and they're not linked together. So we're losing that benefit, that smooth transition and making changes and having those changes and being displayed instantaneously, and that parametric functionality of Revit. That's why I'm an advocate for schedules, because that means that you're putting the right information for that particular element, for that particular pipe. So we have a bunch of schedules here, but one example is the pump schedule. And here it's showing us that we have 3 different pumps in this particular project. And this pump has several parameters that are driving it. And since it's parametric, I can just go to that particular pump and see where it is. And you don't really have to go and bother with all those parameters here, because once you create those schedules for the first time, they're there forever and you can use them on any project, and you can go there and change the service, change any other parameter that you have over here. So I really hope that after today's webinar, when you are creating Revit elements, you don't use dummy elements. You start with something, even if it's very simple. Like if you're modeling a family and you don't want to have it as detailed as the one that we have over here, even if you just start with a box and you keep on adding more and more details to it, then that's a very good start. Let us go back to our presentation. So what are some of the results that we were able to see from with our client after we helped them in their BIM adoption? It's true that we were able to be there and help them out in every stage of the project and help them deliver a final product, but the benefits are simply much more than that. Our client was able to create accurate BIM models that were suitable not just to present to owners, but also for owners to utilize for facilities management, which was a very important goal that they had initially. Another effect is the improved design quality. And that quality, once you improve it on a project, you're really doing that same thing on the next job as well. Additionally, as company-wide processes and workflows began to be used, the client was able to see improvements in the design process, overall efficiency, and also new skills were added. Team members were more excited, were happy to be using new technology. Now they have additional skills. The client also became more competitive. They were presented with new opportunities. In summary, on a project level, when you implement BIM, you help you reduce risk and waste. You improve your design quality. You reduce errors. You improve communication on a team level and on also with other parties that are working with you. You improve project delivery as well. On a company level, you gain more work. You have a different perspective now, so you can gain new work with new clients. You also are attracting the right crowd. So if someone wants to work for you, they want to use the most recent technologies, the best. They want to be up to date. So you're also attracting great skills and improving their skill set as well.